Imagine this. Years ago, she left me, laughed in my face, told me I'd never amount to anything, all because I was just a plumber. Now, I'm the one signing her paycheck. How's that for irony? I still remember the day she walked out like it was yesterday. We were sitting at a small cafe, the kind of place we used to go to after work. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, just talking about life. But instead, she dropped a bomb on me. "Don't you ever want more than this?" she asked, staring at me like she was seeing through me, or maybe at me like I was a failure. I had just finished a long day of work, fixing pipes, unclogging drains, cleaning up messes that no one wanted to deal with. I'd always loved what I did. It was honest work, hard work. But apparently, that wasn't good enough for her. "You're just a plumber, you know. You're never going to be anything more than that," she said, shaking her head. "I can't be with someone who doesn't have ambition. I need someone with a future." Her words stung, deeper than any of the cuts or bruises I'd ever gotten working on a job site. It felt like she was telling me I wasn't enough, not good enough, not worthy enough. And just like that, she was gone. I watched her walk out of the cafe, leaving me sitting there in disbelief, the weight of her words sinking into my chest. It hurt, more than I wanted to admit. But that night, something inside me snapped. She had no idea what she had just done. She didn't know what she was about to awaken in me. I wasn't just a plumber. I was going to prove her wrong. I was going to make sure she'd regret ever thinking I couldn't do more. But it wasn't going to be easy. After she left, I threw myself into my work, more than I ever had before. I wasn't just fixing pipes or unclogging toilets anymore. I was building something. Every job I took, I treated like it was my chance to prove myself. I started taking on bigger projects, learning the ins and outs of the plumbing business. But here's the thing, plumbing is tough. It's not the kind of job that just makes money fall into your lap. I wasn't making much at first, but I was determined to make it work. I had to hustle, and that meant everything from taking calls in the middle of the night to working long weekends when no one else wanted to. But I also started thinking bigger. I started reading books on business, on growing a company. I'd stay up late, watching YouTube videos on marketing, learning about contracts, the basics of running a business. I wasn't just a guy with a wrench anymore. I was becoming the guy who ran the whole operation. Slowly but surely, things started to fall into place. I hired a couple of guys, trustworthy, hard-working people who knew their way around a pipe. The first few months were tough, and there were times when I thought about throwing in the towel. The bills piled up. There were days when I didn't know if I could afford to keep going. But I didn't stop. I kept pushing forward. The hours were grueling. The sacrifices were real. But I was building something. And as the company grew, so did my confidence. I was no longer just a plumber. I was a businessman. Fast forward a few years, and my plumbing company was thriving. We had a steady stream of clients, a reputation for quality work, and a team of skilled technicians that I was proud of. But I wasn't done yet. I had bigger dreams, dreams that were about to come true in a way I never expected. I remember the day the opportunity came. I was sitting in my office, going over some numbers when I got a call from my business partner. He sounded excited, almost too excited. "Hey man, you're not going to believe this," he said. "The company that's been buying up all the small plumbing businesses, they're looking to sell." At first, I didn't pay much attention. There were always companies looking to buy up smaller competitors. But then he told me the name of the company, and my heart dropped. It was the same company my ex-girlfriend worked for. The same company she'd always bragged about, the one she'd told me she was working at when we first met, the one she thought was so much better than what I was doing. I couldn't believe it. How was it possible? But the more I thought about it, the more I saw an opportunity. This was it. This was my chance to go even further. I did some digging. The company was a mess financially, and they were looking to sell because they were drowning in debt. I saw an opportunity to acquire them, but it wouldn't be easy. I knew it was going to take everything I had, all the hard-earned money I'd saved, and a whole lot of negotiating. But I was in a position where I could do it. I knew I had to act fast before someone else scooped it up. After weeks of meetings, back and forth negotiations, and a ton of paperwork, it was official. I had just bought the company. The moment the deal was finalized, I sat there for a minute, staring at the paperwork in front of me, a smile creeping up my face. The company I had just acquired was now my company. I had done it. But there was one thing I hadn't considered. I hadn't thought about the fact that my ex-girlfriend still worked there. A few weeks after the purchase, I walked into the office for the first time as the new owner. My heart was racing, but this was my moment. I was about to see how everything had come full circle. I'd had enough success now that I didn't need to hide behind the walls of my own office. I wanted to meet everyone, learn how things worked, and introduce myself as the new boss. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed a few familiar faces, employees who had been there for years. Some of them nodded at me, unsure of what to think, but I didn't let it faze me. I wasn't there to make friends. I was there to take charge. Then I saw her. She was sitting at a desk, the same one she'd probably been sitting at for the past several years. My heart skipped a beat as she looked up from her work, and I saw the shock in her eyes when she realized who had just walked in. "Tom?" she said, almost in disbelief, her voice barely above a whisper. I smiled and walked up to her desk, trying to keep my calm. "Yeah, it's me." She was silent for a few moments, processing what was happening. I could see the wheels turning in her head. Then it clicked. She put her hands on the desk, leaning forward as if to steady herself. "You bought the company?" she asked, still looking at me like she was waiting for the punchline, for some joke to be revealed. I nodded slowly. "That's right, I'm the new owner." There was a long, awkward silence. I could feel the weight of the moment, the tension hanging between us. It wasn't just about business anymore. It was about everything she'd said, everything she'd done. The words she had thrown at me, the way she had looked at me like I was nothing. For a second, I thought about saying something, maybe rubbing it in a little, letting her know how far I'd come. But then I stopped myself. That wasn't what I was here for. I wasn't here to prove anything to her. Instead, I leaned in slightly, looking her right in the eye. Funny how things turn out, isn't it? She didn't say anything at first. She just looked down, her face flushing with regret. I could see the realization setting in, the realization that she had been wrong about me, that she had underestimated me in the worst way. It wasn't just her who'd been surprised, though. It was the whole office. Word spread quickly. The employees who had been skeptical of me, someone who started as a small-time plumber, started to realize that maybe I had more ambition than anyone had given me credit for. They saw me not just as a successful business owner, but as someone who had worked for everything he'd built. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting back at her. It was about proving to myself that I could do more, that I could rise above the doubts people had placed on me, that I wasn't just a plumber. As I turned to walk away, I heard her voice again. "Tom, I'm sorry." The words were quiet, hesitant, but I could hear the sincerity behind them. I didn't say anything in return, but in that moment, I knew that she had finally realized the truth. People might laugh at you for what you do. They might think they know your limits, that they can judge your worth based on a job title or a paycheck. But what they don't see is the heart, the grit that drives you to keep pushing, even when they've given up on you. And that's when I realized it wasn't about showing her she was wrong. It was about proving to myself that I was more than just what anyone else thought I could be. I had done it on my terms. So here's the lesson. Never let anyone define your potential. Never let someone's doubt become your reality. You don't need anyone's approval to chase your dreams. Keep working, keep believing, and when the time comes, let your success do the talking. You're capable of more than you know.